I don't know his state of mind.
Did you know if he knew the score?
Later that night, the footage resurfaced in high definition, clear as day. Suddenly, a single moment spiraled into a massive controversy for the Lakers organization. Let's set the scene. On November 18th, 2025, the Lakers rolled into the Fiserv Forum to take on the Bucks. Honestly, it wasn't a contest. They left with a crushing 119-95 victory, powered by Luka Doncic, who was absolutely scorching the Nets all evening. Yet, despite the lopsided scoreboard, the drama brewing off the court completely overshadowed the actual basketball game. This particular matchup was a milestone for Bronny James. At just 21 years old and in his sophomore NBA season, he was logging only his second career start. With the roster plagued by injuries, the Lakers were shuffling the deck to see what the young blood could actually contribute. J.J. Redick, navigating his rookie year as head coach, had drawn a hard line in the sand. He demanded players who operated with guts and fearless aggression. This start was billed as Bronny's breakout opportunity, his audition for a permanent rotation spot. Instead, it became a cautionary tale that the entire league dissected. Early in the opening frame, Bronny found himself camped out in the perfect spots beyond the arc. On two separate occasions, the ball hit his hands with zero defenders in sight, the kind of wide-open look shooters live for. But rather than letting it fly, he locked up. He deferred, kicking the ball back out to play it safe. That hesitation completely stalled the offensive rhythm. The frustration on the court was palpable immediately, with Luka throwing his hands up, visibly annoyed. It was obvious Luka wanted those shots up, but the sideline reaction was even more volatile. Cameras zoomed in on Redick screaming at Bronny, his language sharp and unforgiving. Within hours, that footage was everywhere, dominating social timelines and sports broadcasts. The debate was instantaneous. Was this necessary tough love from Redick, or was he breaking a young player's spirit? Regardless of the optics, the message was unmistakable. Redick wasn't there to hold anyone's hand. He needed Bronny to shed the fear and start owning his moments on the floor. Following that second pump fake, Redick pulled the plug just 4 minutes into the game. Bronny sat until the second half, ending his night with a meager 10 minutes of floor time and only 2 field goal attempts. These are the nights that generate headlines not for statistical brilliance, but for the narrative implications. And this wasn't an isolated incident. It highlighted a cloud that has followed Bronny since draft night. Despite seeing his playing time jump to 12.7 minutes per game, up from 6.7 last year, the efficiency hasn't followed. Shooting 35% from the floor and 33% from deep isn't catastrophic, but it doesn't silence the critics. Fans were desperate for flashes of potential. Instead, they got paralysis and a coach unwilling to tolerate it. Once the video of Redick's tirade hit the web, LeBron's post-game demeanor hinted that this cut deep. The development curve just wasn't steep enough for the coaching staff's liking. When that sideline explosion occurred, it set the entire basketball community ablaze. One camp defended Redick, arguing that a shock to the system was exactly what Bronny needed to wake up. The opposing view claimed that undressing a rookie on national television does more damage than good. The sports media machine went into overdrive, analyzing every frame of the interaction. The hot takes were brutal, with some commentators bluntly calling Bronny's performance garbage. People were saying there was simply no defense for his play, implying Redick had reached his breaking point. Yet, through the media storm, Bronny maintained his composure like a veteran. A few days later, he addressed the press with a level of maturity that surprised many. He owned it, admitting Redick was correct and that passing up open looks was a mistake he couldn't afford to make. He emphasized his commitment to the daily grind, promising to be trigger-ready the next time the ball swung his way. Then came the curveball. On November 22nd, 2025, just days after the Milwaukee incident, the Lakers assigned Bronny to their G League affiliate, South Bay. Rather than viewing it as a demotion, he treated it as a mission. Facing off against the Santa Cruz Warriors, he erupted. 15 points on 5 of 10 shooting, 8 assists, 4 boards, and 3 steals in a blowout 115-95 victory. It was exactly the aggression Redick had demanded. He looked confident, assertive, and efficient. While fans celebrated the resurgence, the spotlight shifted back to the patriarch. The real narrative wasn't Bronny's stats. It was LeBron's reaction. The world waited to see how the king would respond to his heir getting undressed on live broadcast. For a superstar defined by fire and passion, his silence was deafening. Throughout the 2025-26 campaign, whenever reporters probed about Bronny's playing time or benchings, LeBron remained stoic. His answers were always calculated and professional. He publicly backed the coaching staff at every turn. Even after the viral shouting match, There were no passive-aggressive tweets, no sources say leaks, and no angry pressers. Just absolute radio silence. LeBron has stated repeatedly that he draws a line between fatherhood and the coaching staff. He insists he never dials up the coach to complain or interfere, trusting them to develop his son without his thumb on the scale. He reinforced this stance in a clip from December 30th, 2025. Despite fans clamoring for answers about Bronny's usage, LeBron expressed satisfaction with the process, noting how much he enjoyed watching the gradual improvement. He pointed out that at 21, Bronny is still a student of the game, getting better with every rep. Then, the day after the viral incident, LeBron delivered a post-game response that caught everyone off guard. Instead of anger, he offered humor and honesty. He chuckled, acknowledging that it was great seeing Bronny out there, even if his son was still adjusting to the NBA's breakneck speed. He glanced over at Bronny, and the two shared a knowing laugh that immediately diffused the tension in the room. That brief interaction spoke volumes. LeBron was choosing the long game over immediate gratification. However, this level of restraint is uncharacteristic for the LeBron people are used to watching. Historically, we've seen him tear into referees, throw his hands up at teammates in frustration, and openly question coaching strategies on the court. He is rarely quiet when things go south. Yet, when his own blood was publicly reprimanded by a rookie head coach, there was no smoke, no defense, no drama. Even when Bronny logged a humiliating single minute of play against the Spurs on January 8th, 2026, despite a depleted roster, LeBron didn't utter a word. While insiders claimed he was simply resting that game, his silence remained heavy. Bronny eventually stepped up to dispel the rumors that his father was pulling strings in the background. In an interview from July 3rd, 2025, Bronny clarified, "We don't really discuss that stuff. If it comes up, he tells me to ignore it." According to Bronny, their private talks focus on resilience and blocking out the noise. LeBron wasn't operating as a franchise player here. He was operating as a father, allowing his son to take his lumps. It's becoming obvious that this measured approach isn't a PR stunt, it's his philosophy. The restraint feels authentic. He has frequently expressed pride in how Bronny navigates the suffocating pressure attached to the James surname. You're watching a man who has mastered the tightrope walk between being a supportive parent and a global icon living under a microscope. He is carving out a unique legacy in real time. As LeBron put it, Bronny isn't him. LeBron admitted he wouldn't have been able to handle this level of scrutiny, combined with social media, at that age. He didn't have Twitter or Instagram dissecting his every move at 18. Many analysts expected LeBron to flex his organizational muscle. He could have easily demanded playing time or clapped back at Redick for the public embarrassment. Instead, he took the hardest road possible for a protective parent. He stepped back and let Bronny figure it out on his own. LeBron let his kid take the lumps, face the heat, and actually learn from it. That move shocked everyone because, for once, Bron wasn't shielding his boy from the ugly side of the game. He was making him fight for his own spot. Sitting down for an interview on March 23rd, 2025, LeBron looked back on the road Bronny traveled since that terrifying health scare back at USC. Watching him improve from that first game back to what he did the other night, it's incredible, he noted. That statement spoke volumes. We weren't just discussing a single matchup or a specific screw-up here. He was playing the long game. To him, Bronny's path was a marathon, not a dash to the finish line. That takes a level of patience most legends just don't have, particularly when their own blood is involved. That restraint is even more surprising when you look at his track record with bench bosses, a saga that's been messy for ages. Rumors of him being a coach killer have trailed him ever since he was a rookie in Cleveland. Fair or foul, the pattern was undeniable. Managers got the axe. And somehow, LeBron always seemed to be at the center of the drama. Since 2003, he's been linked to more than 12 coaching shakeups. It's insane. Just look at his time in LA. It's been a carousel. Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, Darvin Ham, and finally, JJ Redick. 4 skippers in about 7 years. That kind of turnover just pours gas on the theory that LeBron, whether openly or quietly, calls the shots on personnel. And honestly, this dynamic isn't new. Back with the Cavs, he burned through Paul Silas, Brendan Malone, 2 stints with Mike Brown, Byron Scott, David Blatt, and Tyronn Lue. Down in Miami, the only guy who withstood the pressure, literally and figuratively, was Eric Spoelstra. Most folks agree Spoelstra only lasted because Pat Riley runs a tight ship and nobody crosses him. But once LeBron touched down in Los Angeles, whole different ballgame. The franchise didn't just sign a superstar, they signed an entire ecosystem. Every trade, signing, or coaching decision immediately sparked the same question. Did the king sign off on this? Luke Walton was the first casualty after the 2018 to 2019 campaign wrapped up. Word on the street was LeBron hated Walton's substitution patterns, specifically the way he juggled minutes between the vets and the kids. That season marked the first time in over 10 years the purple and gold missed the postseason. Shortly after, they packed up the young talent and sent them packing to land Anthony Davis. The writing was on the wall. Forget building for the future. It was championship or bust. Frank Vogel delivered ring number 4 in 2020, yet even a title couldn't save his job. Just 2 years later, following an ugly 33-49 record, he was out the door. A lot of people blamed the catastrophic Russell Westbrook trade, a deal LeBron allegedly championed, as the main reason for the collapse. Rumors popped up claiming James was fed up with how Vogel managed the lineup, and that friction likely nailed the coffin shut. Enter Darvin Ham. He actually steered the squad to the Western Conference Finals in 2023, but even that didn't cut it. By 2024, following an early exit against Denver, Ham got the boot. Dave McMenamin from ESPN insisted the front office pulled the trigger on their own, not LeBron. But the gossip didn't stop. A Netflix doc even suggested that behind-the-scenes arguments over James's minutes might have stoked the flames. So, when J.J. Redick got hired in 2024, it felt like history repeating itself, and fans immediately started connecting the dots. Redick wasn't just some random hire. He was literally co-hosting the Mind the Game podcast with LeBron. The headlines were practically automatic. LeBron's buddy gets the keys. But James tried to squash that narrative immediately. He went on record claiming zero involvement, swearing he never even discussed Redick with management beforehand. But let's be honest, the timing, the relationship, the look of it all, it raised eyebrows. Was this another one of LeBron's power moves, or did the suits actually decide this one solo? Shams Charania reported the front office acted alone, but the fan base wasn't buying it. We've all seen this film, and we know the ending. Suddenly, LeBron, keeping his distance with Bronny, feels intentional, like he's trying to prove a point, or maybe fix his reputation. After being labeled a puppet master for years, he's finally stepping back and letting the chips fall where they may. For once, he isn't forcing the story, he's just letting it happen. Come January 2026, Shams Charania clarified again that LeBron had zero input on the coaching search. Did that kill the chatter? Not a chance. The team was hitting the skids, the defense was porous, and the rumors about J.J. Redick's job safety started heating up fast. Even Gilbert Arenas jumped in, suggesting Redick might be in trouble after some spicy postgame comments about effort that felt like subtle jabs at the squad or maybe even LeBron. The web ate it up. Haters immediately argued LeBron's ego wouldn't let him ride shotgun, claiming he couldn't stand not being the absolute center of the universe in L.A. They accused him of working the shadows again, same old song and dance. And honestly, I think the split really started with Luka Doncic. You combine that with the reality that Rob Pelinka and the bigwigs upstairs are clearly pivoting toward Luka right now. And hey, they should be planning for tomorrow. But LeBron, with that massive, fragile ego of his, I don't think he can stomach it. This time, though, Redick held the line, defending James, calling the hate unfair, and hyping up his grind and leadership. There wasn't a single solid source saying LeBron was asking for a new coach. That difference is exactly why this whole scenario was so bizarre. In the past, James was always viewed as the architect behind the firings. Now, he was silent, just doing his job. Even as folks tried to manufacture drama, that coach killer tag just wouldn't go away. His supporters claim these axings are on the management, not some personal grudge match from LeBron. But hold on, let me jump in for a second. I honestly think LeBron pushed his luck. He miscalculated how much pull he actually has at this point in his career. I bet he thought picking up that player option would give him the best of both worlds. The stats weren't doing him any favors either. Ever since he came back from that sciatica issue in November 2025, the team's defense absolutely tanked. Data showed their defensive rating dropped by 4.4 points per 100 possessions whenever James was on the floor. Pundits began harping on his age 41, noting he'd lost that explosive first step and side-to-side movement that used to make him a lockdown defender. Videos of him blowing defensive assignments were blowing up online, reinforcing the idea that Father Time was finally undefeated. That's where it gets complicated. Past experience tells us when L.A. hits a rough patch and the pressure mounts, the coach is the one who gets served up on a platter. Right or wrong, we all know the drill. The blame shifts, the rumors swell, and boom, another manager bites the dust. The only mystery left was if J.J. Redick could snap the streak or just be another name on the casualty list. One thing's for sure, LeBron's shadow is still gigantic. Everything the franchise does seems tethered to him one way or another. That goes double for Bronny. Even with LeBron keeping his mouth shut about Redick's coaching, the way the organization is handling the kid screams calculated. L.A. is definitely tightrope walking here, balancing growth and shielding him. They're giving him a taste of the big leagues without tossing him into the deep end too soon. Following that blow-up in Milwaukee that went viral, the team instantly assigned Bronny to the G League. It wasn't a demotion. It was all part of the blueprint. The staff utilized a development shuttle strategy, bouncing him between the pro squad and the South Bay Lakers to target specific flaws. The mission? Boost his swagger, dial in his jumper, and get him to attack the rim more. This wasn't uncharted territory. Bronny had already logged time in the G League during his rookie campaign, playing 7 games while putting up about 13 points and 4 dimes a night. Things changed this time around. The drills got grittier and sharper, tying directly back to the message head coach J.J. Redick had been hammering home ever since that Milwaukee matchup. On November 22nd, 2025, Bronny suited up for South Bay and immediately went to work. He logged 31 minutes and filled up the box score. 15 points on 50% shooting, 8 dimes, 4 boards, 3 steals, and a block. South Bay crushed it, winning 115-95. This was the Bronny everyone had been waiting for, aggressive, locked in, and playing with zero hesitation. The coaching staff loved his poise. He looked like a seasoned pro out there, making smart reads and committing just a single turnover. That is real development. The G League finally gave him some room to operate. Without the sold-out arenas, the obsession over every brick, and the constant dad comparisons, it was just hoops. South Bay ran the same motion-heavy system as the main squad, but tailored specifically to maximize his strengths. Training sessions hammered home the basics. Hezes, step-backs, and drive and kick decisions, the exact spots where he'd been freezing up at the NBA level. Redick actually made him run back specific sequences from that messy Bucks game, but with one mandate. If you're open, you shoot. It paid off, and the stat sheet proved it. Down in the G League, his output was ticking upward. Let's actually break down the numbers he put up this season. Context matters here because the next time you see a viral clip of him catching a lob or making a slick pass, you need to remember the baseline. The Lakers are giving him a legit shot, averaging about 13 minutes a night. You could see the confidence building and the game slowing down for him. By the start of January 2026, he had 8 G League games under his belt while shuffling back and forth from the main roster. Over that stretch, he put up roughly 11 points, 4.6 assists, and 3 boards in 31 minutes of action. He isn't setting the world on fire, but the arrow is definitely pointing up. He cleaned up his assist-to-turnover ratio and finally looked comfortable. Still, the disconnect between his G League production and his NBA struggles was impossible to ignore, and the haters made sure to point it out. One side argued his numbers in the minors didn't warrant a roster spot, while the other side preached patience and development. Through it all, the cameras never looked away. That scrutiny comes with the James on his jersey, it's never going away. And let's be real, his NBA line is ugly right now. 1.5 points, 0.4 rebounds, and 1.1 assists in garbage time. It is a completely different vibe in the G League, though. The extended run gives him the rhythm and freedom to actually play his game. The shot mechanics are smoother, the passing is up, and his defensive intensity is creating transition opportunities. He is starting to show flashes of why he was drafted, and he hasn't shied away from the work required. Bronny doesn't view the assignment as a demotion. To him, it is a laboratory where he can sharpen his skills away from the media circus, and that attitude is paying dividends. He is blocking out the noise to focus on the daily grind, film study, reps, and late nights in the gym. The coaching staff has been crystal clear about the roadmap. The talent is there, but he needs the lungs and the swagger to match. J.J. Redick, a guy who carved out a 15-year career based on elite conditioning, has repeatedly said Bronny's hurdle isn't skill, it's stamina. He needs to armor up his body to survive an 82-game slate. We're talking about chasing elite guards around screens and staying mentally sharp on defense for full rotations. Then you have the mental hurdle. Redick and his staff notice that when Bronny freezes up, it's not a lack of talent, it's a lack of trust. He needs to trust his instincts and his jumper. By November 2025, Redick was already highlighting the shift, praising the rookie's improved shot selection and decisiveness. You could see that self-belief translating to the court, particularly when the roster was thin and he was forced to run the offense. Redick noted that his distribution game had evolved. He wasn't just swinging the ball anymore. He was actually reading the defense, attacking gaps, and setting up teammates. The staff is walking a fine line between support and hard coaching. They are using those intense sideline moments as teaching points rather than criticism. Even the brutal feedback is part of a long-term plan designed specifically for him. Yet, despite the improvements, one massive question still hangs over the whole experiment. Does he belong in the NBA? The nepotism cloud hasn't gone anywhere. Let's be honest. His spot in the league has been a polarizing topic from the second he was drafted. When Los Angeles took him 55th overall in 2024, it broke the internet. The backlash was immediate, with fans and pundits labeling it a pure vanity pick orchestrated by his dad. The debate raged. Did he earn the jersey, or did the name on the back buy it? His college numbers at USC certainly didn't scream NBA prospect. He averaged 4.8 points, 2.8 boards, and 2.1 assists while shooting under 37%. Combine that with his terrifying cardiac scare, and most scouts had him going undrafted or maybe getting a pity invite to Summer League. So when the Lakers called his name, the critics pounced. They saw it as nothing more than a favor to the king, a move to keep the franchise icon satisfied. The arguments got ugly fast. He averaged 4 points. He can't shoot. He's too small. People started throwing around personal insults, claiming defenders of the pick were ignoring reality. But the drama didn't end on draft night. Word got out that Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, was working the phones, essentially warning other teams to steer clear of Bronny. Bob Myers dropped a bombshell on the ESPN broadcast, revealing that Paul told teams Bronny would bounce to Australia if anyone other than the Lakers picked him. It was a power move that cleared the runway for LA to grab him at 55. It was 4D chess, and it paid off. Remember, LeBron had already planted the seed years ago when he said, "Wherever Bronny is, that's where I'll be." He tried to walk that back later, but the look on his face when his son got drafted said it all. Plus, signing a 2-year extension right after the draft only confirmed what everyone suspected. The Lakers did this to lock LeBron down. The media sharks circled immediately. You had analysts questioning Redick's rotations, asking why Bronny was seeing the floor in the first quarter of games like the one in Philly. Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back, pleading directly to the king. "I'm trying to be respectful, but please, stop this. We all know why he is in the league." Former Laker Kwame Brown went even harder, roasting the decision and accusing LeBron of abusing his power to gift-wrap a career for his son. The consensus among the old heads was clear. This wasn't about talent. It was about branding and legacy. And as the 2025 season rolls on, that noise hasn't quieted down. Actually, it's shifting. The yo-yoing between the NBA and the G League, combined with the fact that he is seemingly uncuttable despite the lack of production, keeps the nepotism argument alive. Critics ask a valid question. Why does he get this much runway when other 55th picks usually vanish without a trace? But the answer is obvious. He isn't just a second-round pick. He is the heir to the throne. Being LeBron's son opens doors, sure, but it also brings a different kind of heat. Every step, every miss, and every pass will be analyzed under a microscope. They aren't talking about him because of his stat line. They're talking about him because of his last name. A massive chunk of the pressure resting on Bronny's shoulders comes directly from the expectations his own father set, claiming his son was already better than half the guys currently on active rosters. LeBron wasn't just hyping him up in private. He put it out there that the kid belonged in the league immediately, and when the king speaks, the world pays attention. On the flip side, defenders of the Lakers front office have been vocal, arguing that nepotism is standard practice in the NBA. It just draws more fire when the name on the back of the jersey is James. They are quick to point out that family bloodlines dictate opportunities everywhere from the suite level to the bench, citing players like Thanasis Antetokounmpo and Tim Hardaway Jr. who got their foot in the door thanks to connections. So, why is everyone clutching their pearls over Bronny? The counter-argument is that burning a late second-round pick on him was essentially a zero-risk gamble. We aren't talking about a wasted lottery ticket here. This was a developmental flyer on a kid with a high motor and genuine potential to evolve into a solid 3-and-D perimeter threat. The Lakers secured a project with upside who coincidentally drives massive jersey sales, and neither James man has tried to dodge the controversy surrounding the selection. They have both tackled the nepotism discourse head-on, with Bronny stating in interviews back in 2025 that the backlash was entirely expected. He admitted the hate was inevitable, but emphasized that his focus remains locked on refining his own craft, while LeBron backed him up, insisting that the outside noise is irrelevant to Bronny's personal growth curve. This whole saga transcends hoops, though. It strikes a nerve regarding the broader cultural debate about privilege and access in professional sports. One camp views it as the ultimate flex, using your success to build generational wealth and opportunities, while the other side sees it as a slap in the face to every grinder clawing their way up from the bottom without a famous pedigree. That underlying tension is exactly why the sideline blow-up with Coach J.J. Redick went viral so instantly. Some saw a coach simply demanding accountability from a rookie, but others read it as frustration boiling over not just about a missed shot, but about the politics of a roster spot that might not have been earned on merit. It wasn't just about basketball IQ. It was a collision of optics, authority, and star power playing out under the bright lights of Los Angeles. Fast forward to January 2026, and Bronny's sophomore season remains a roller coaster ride of G League assignments and main roster call-ups, keeping the debate alive. To be fair, there is no smoking gun proving LeBron's strong-armed Rob Pelinka or the Buss family into guaranteeing his son playing time. Yet, given LeBron's track record of exerting influence, fans can't help but view every organizational decision through a skeptical lens, torn between seeing a touching father-son legacy and seeing a cynical display of how leverage dictates reality in a league driven by superstars and narratives. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and sound off in the comments with your take. Catch you in the next video.